know what legacy means.
It's what you pass down to your children and your children's children. It's what remains of you when you're gone.
Is there trouble in paradise? One man's legacy becomes our legacy's conversation. Welcome to the Legacy of Westeros, everybody. I'm Zach here with Sean, and there's been a lot of drama since the season 2 finale of House of the Dragon. It has been much maligned. It has been heavily discussed. It has been dissected here on this channel, on various other channels that the two of us have been a part of, on and off. And now it seems that George R.R. Martin himself is about to say his piece. And it hasn't dropped yet, but the anticipation, I think it is safe to say, Sean, is mounting just because of how much he was a part of the show and how much he seems to be departing from that position of influence now.
Yeah, man, I got a lot to say about this topic. And for some people, it might not be a popular take. Before we get into that, though, I just want to take a moment and give everybody our multiple choice question for the video. That's right, we're back to some short form content. Don't worry, though, House of the Empire will be returning, and we'll have some brief details at the end of this episode on that. In the next week's video, we'll have the full details of what you can expect, how you can expect, and when you can expect House of the Empire to return. But the multiple choice question for this video is quite simple. Does George R.R. Martin need to take a step back from the creative process in the Westeros shows? Now, maybe he already has, but we're asking you for your opinion on it. Yes, no, or doesn't matter. Let us know down in the comment section below, because your thoughts on this topic definitely do matter. Zach, I think I kind of want to let you bat lead off on this one, man, because I was already not thrilled when he mentioned that he's not a part of that he had backed out from the writing team. And then, I've had some time to digest season 2. I'm sure you have. I don't feel any different about the finale. I'm just being honest. That one still doesn't sit any better with me. I do like the season. I don't think it's as good as 1, but I still think it's a really good season of Westeros content. And then I seen this. And obviously people start taking it and making headlines out of it. And they're fair headlines to make because it's his own words. And it got the juices flowing in a very not positive way for me. How about you?
The man has so many projects. This world is so massive. And there are so many things that they have said are in the works that he is inevitably going to want to dip his fingers into and have his say in. And I think that's the balance that I'm trying to strike is, yes, House of the Dragon is the flagship because it's like the big one. It's the one that's regularly going. Night of the Seven Kingdoms hasn't come out yet as of the time of this recording. So there's really only one property in the Game of Thrones universe that we as viewers and reviewers know of. But for Martin, he's got probably 5 or 6 different things in the fire. And so I do try to have a modicum of grace and understanding with trying to juggle all of those projects on top of whatever writing projects he's trying to do, on top of public appearances, on top of trying to have a personal life and a social life and all that sort of thing. Like, he is probably one of the most in-demand people in the fantasy entertainment business right now. And so, yes, him stepping away from the writing process as hands-on as he has been does give me reason for pause. It does give me reason for concern, especially after this season finale. But I am also trying to look at the flip side of the coin that he's just a busy guy and maybe he's got a lot going on.
Yeah, I mean, the flip side of the coin could be that. I would also argue when you use the language of I need to talk about everything that's wrong with House of the Dragon. It's maybe it was a poor choice of words from him. I have a hard time believing he's going to have a poor choice of words. They seem quite intentional. It seems quite intentional a few weeks after he revealed that he's not going to be part of the season 3 writing team. Um, I gotta be honest, man. I love the world that he's made for us. You and I not only are passionate about the show, are about to jump into a 70 plus week project that, if it wasn't for him, doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we both own literature from him. I have audiobooks from him. I have a desk that's more full of Game of Thrones and Westeros related material than it is Star Wars or Halloween. And that's saying something for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and at the end of the day, I couldn't help but sit here and go, can you please just shut the hell up? Could you not say whatever it is you're about to say? Because like in Star Wars, there's no way this is going to go positively. He's going to say what.
Imagine.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm just thinking. Imagine if George Lucas made a post that said, "I'm going to write everything that's wrong with Star Wars right now." Like that's basically where we're coming from. This is the creator. This is the man who is responsible for the world that we're a fan of, like you said.
He still has control over rights too.
He does.
Obviously, he's issued a lot of those out, but has some control to some extent.
Right. But you think about, what other creators of beloved universes are still out there? What if there was more Harry Potter content and J.K. Rowling came out and said, I'm going to publish something about everything that's wrong with Harry Potter right now? Like, you don't see this with any other fandom creator. And yet, Martin is going to stir the pot, it feels like.
I would say it's almost a damn guarantee, and I hope someone, whether it's Ryan Condal, people at HBO, people at WBD, go, maybe you want to watch what you say here, because at the end of the day, this is still money in your pocket too. And you mentioned it. If George Lucas came out and said, here's everything wrong that's wrong with Disney Star Wars, immediately the next headline from Star Wars Theory and Star Wars Newsnet and Christian Harloff and all the massive, content creators would be, George Lucas says Star Wars Disney should die. Like, like you could see it, right? And
Yep.
I guarantee you there's going to be massive content creators that get way more coverage at a place like, us, that are going to not necessarily spin it, just take his words and go, yeah, here we go. Here's some more divisiveness on top of what we already have. And every fandom has levels of divisiveness, but that
Mm-hmm.
season finale was not met well. Clearly budgeting reasons that they went that route. But at
Yep.
the end of the day, man, I have a hard time feeling remorseful for a guy who didn't like the end of Game of Thrones. And you know what? I thought it could have been done better too, but I don't hate it. I wish that they didn't rush it. I wish that the last 2 seasons were 20 episodes where it could breathe and not 13 where it's super rushed. And the choices that were made, most of them, maybe I'm not the biggest fan of them, but I can get behind them. But when you have a decade, technically 11-year head start to put out 2 books, because you were basically already done the other one,
Mm-hmm.
you have no one to blame but yourself. You gave them bullet points to follow, not even great ones by the sounds of it, and they went and basically took a few of them and did their own thing. You yourself have mentioned reading some of the House of the Dragon source material. There's not a lot
Mm-hmm.
there, and we're
Nah,
talking about it with the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms too.
Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is the source material I've been reading.
Oh,
I
sorry, I
haven't,
thought you had looked into the
I
House of the
haven't,
Dragon stuff a bit too.
I haven't done as much Fire and Blood as I want to, but I did get a head start on the first novella that's going to be part of the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, and a good majority of it is just the description of the different tents and the banners and all of the way that the different knights are dressed for their tournament and stuff. Like in the Game of Thrones TV show, they just talk about tournaments. And in the pilot of House of the Dragon, we see a King's tournament, but we don't see, just a traditional regular tournament that takes place outside of a, everyday Lord's Keep or whatever. Like, it's a very small operation in the grand scheme of Game of Thrones. And to try to create something out of that is definitely going to be a challenge. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, because the stuff that you write, you're writing it with the knowledge that it could get created into a show. It could be turned into something. Hell, even the Rings of Power is having this problem over in the Lord of the Rings, with the Silmarillion and some of the other stuff that Tolkien has wrote. uh, it's not super in depth, and there's a lot of filling in the blank spaces. There's a lot of reading between the lines. The problem is Tolkien's not alive to criticize it. Martin is. And so, like, I don't think this stuff would be facing quite as much vitriol or divisiveness, as you put it, if Martin was more hands off. If he wasn't alive. I'm not saying I wish he was dead, but I'm saying, like, if he was in similar circumstances, then we wouldn't necessarily be having the type of violent reactions that we are. And we wouldn't even be greatly anticipating his blog post or whatever it is that he's going to be doing, because he's not involved. He's not around to do those types of things. He's, incapacitated for this reason or that. There's all kinds of similarities and yet differences between these fandoms. But the heart of the matter is, reading between the lines is exactly what TV shows and movies have always done. And filling in the gaps with their creative license is nothing new or different. And for him to be this upset over it, that he wants to stir the pot and create more divisiveness, feels arrogant and selfish to me. Now, I haven't written anything of value the way he has, but it still feels very narcissistic.
Strong words, but fair words, in my opinion, man. Nothing positive is going to come out of this. Mark my words. The fandom will be more at war with one another. And make no mistake, well, I haven't even read all Fire and Blood. Far from it. The amount of content, it's well known. There's not enough there in terms of dialogue, character interaction, events to do the 40 episodes that he wanted, which is why you have Ryan Condal and a writer's room, which is mandatory anyways in Hollywood now, doing this stuff. Like, in my opinion, until we see what he complains about, I'll reserve full judgment. But from where I sit today, he has not much to say, right? Like, Winds of Winter still isn't out. Dream of Spring, probably nowhere close to out. There's a lot of people, maybe even you, that believe won't be released during his lifetime.
Yeah.
It's frustrating because we're both Star Wars fans. We both see what goes on over there. And the only thing I can compare to is this, really. And I'm excited for more House of the Dragon in the first half of 2026, right? Like, we're about, a little more than a year and a half away from it. It's already September, believe it or not. And you have a Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which I believe I read is scheduled for May. But whether they hit it or not, we'll see. So we're not far away from that either. I'm excited for this stuff. I'm excited for what we're going to talk about at the very end of this episode. I'm not excited to see George R.R. Martin's blog post that's just going to create more divisiveness and have one half of the fan base going, why don't you just shut up, man, because you're not helping? And the other half of the fan base going, this is the true Westeros story, and this is how it should be. And at the end of the day, the fans might not realize it, but it's them that are going to pay the price for whatever comes out of his mouth at this point.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head that what he's doing is going to create two factions. Both of them love Game of Thrones. Both of them love the world that has been created. both of them are going to want to see what he has to say, either to dismiss it or to vindicate it. That they're either going to want it so that they can tear him apart and say, you have no place to say this because you haven't done this, you haven't done this, you haven't done this, you don't have a say anymore. And then there are going to be people who are like, he's the only one who should have a say because he's the one who made it. And it's unfortunate that it's come to this, because it's almost like a miniaturized greens versus blacks between the fandoms. Like, I see the irony in their similarities, because both sides believe themselves to be right. Both sides believe themselves to be the ones living in truth. Both sides believe that there is merit to their claim, and at the end of the day, it's going to be like an online civil war of opinions. And I'm not thrilled with that, because I enjoy this franchise too much to get into another sequence of fights like I did with Star Wars. That's part of the reason why I don't follow Star Wars as intently as I did in years past, because of the infighting, because of the politicking, because of a this versus that, I'm right, you're wrong type of thing. I went to Game of Thrones to kind of get away from all that shit, and now it's following me, and I'm not a fan of that.
Sadly, I think that's almost every fandom. Just obviously the ones with more of a following get more attention. That just seems to be the way of fandom in 2024, and I don't see it ever getting any better. Unfortunately, I would say this though to the fans that think he's the creator, so it has to be his say. That dude was paid well over 8 figures, into the deep 8 figures, for licensing rights to be able to do this stuff. The second you do that, the second you get that nice paycheck plus money on the back end, you're kind of throwing that away.
Yeah, your royalties are like a way of signing away whatever it is that you consider your life's work. But I mean, hell of a payday. I would kill to have a payday like that.
Oh, for sure. Would love to know everybody else's thoughts though, down on this George R. R. Martin post that's to come in. If I had to guess, the next month. Are you
It,
for it? Are you against it? Let us know. We would love to hear your thoughts.
it's imminent, and you can bet that there will be another post and another video with our thoughts on it whenever it finally does drop, because this is going to be some of the hottest tea this fandom has got until Night of the Seven Kingdoms comes out. So it will be talked about for sure. One other thing that this channel is going to be talking about, though, is the original series, the original Game of Thrones, from the pilot all the way to the controversial finale. We're going to be looking at it episode by episode, which, in all of the years that Sean and I have done podcasting, specifically Game of Thrones related podcasting, I don't know if we have done episode by episode before in this depth and in this capacity. We have looked at particular seasons, we have looked at particular arcs, we have looked at particular characters, we have looked at particular houses. We have done stuff about season 7 and season 8 in particular. One was a rewatch and then one was an episode by episode watch when they first came out. But I don't know if we have done beginning to end in quite this depth or capacity, and I'm pretty excited for that.
I'm stoked. I haven't rewatched Game of Thrones in quite a while. I've been able to hold off on it, and I've been itching, and I get to scratch my itch as I begin the rewatch this Sunday. But all we'll give you for now, for full details, tune into our video next week, which will be this one right here, where we'll give you full details on that rewatch podcast, how it's going to shape out, who you can expect to see, what we'll be talking about. So tune into that video. But we'll let you know this: the week of September the 16th will be the release of the first episode, and then 95% of weeks after will feature another. So when we start on the week of September the 16th, the following week we'll do episode 2. The following week we'll do episode 3, and we'll be far ahead in the recording schedule compared to where you guys are getting the episodes released. But we're looking forward to it. And no, we've never done anything like this, man.
It's a pretty big deal. So be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you know when every single episode drops and when we have other content for you here on this channel, long or short. It's going to be a very fun-filled time talking about old and new here on this channel. And I'm looking forward to being a part of that adventure with you, buddy. So we will keep you all in the loop as best as we can. And we will see you all next time right here on the Legacy of Westeros.
Do you know what legacy means?
It's what you pass down to your children and your children's children. It's what remains of you